Today we're going to talk about VA loans. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to VA loans. So we're going to talk about the misconceptions today and why they are myths instead of fact. Number one, a VA loan stands for the Veterans Administration. So if someone has served in the military, if they're on reserve, if they're in the National Guard, if they're active duty, or if you are the widow of someone who has been in the military, then you can qualify for a special loan called a VA loan. It's a government insured loan. The biggest thing about a VA loan is it's 100% financing, and that is a benefit that is given to a veteran to repay them for their service. And of course, that is nothing in comparison to what they have done for us. That is one of the benefits that they get, is not having to make a down payment on a mortgage. So especially the past 2 to 3 years, there have been a lot of negativity going around with a VA loan. And people who were financing through VA had a very, very hard time being able to purchase a home because they were going VA. So now that the market has shifted a little bit and, properties are not going into multiple offers, then we're seeing more VA loan options coming to the table on a contract. So we're going to talk today a little bit about VA loans and some of the myths regarding them. The first one is that VA loans are denied at a higher rate. They're a bigger risk. And that is false. VA loans actually have the lowest denial rate among any of the 4 loan types. So when I say that, I'm talking about conventional loans, FHA loans, rural housing loans, and then the VA loan. So they have the lowest denial rate of any loan type out there. The second myth is that VA loans are expensive for veterans. And I think people say that because a VA loan does have what's called a funding fee. It's typically 2% of the loan amount, and it's added to however much they are financing that will need to be repaid. However, if a veteran is disabled, then that funding fee is typically waived for them. So the funding fee is the only thing that you will see on a VA loan that you may not see on other loan types. But typically VA rates are going to be lower than your conventional rates or your FHA rates. And overall, the closing costs are in line with what you would see for other mortgage types. Number 3 is people with weak financial backgrounds use VA loans and other no down payment mortgages to buy homes. And again, the VA created this benefit for our veterans as a way to say thank you for the service that they have provided to our country. So just because someone chooses to use their VA benefit doesn't mean they have bad credit, doesn't mean they don't have money in the bank. It means they're choosing to utilize a benefit that they have because they served in our military. VA loans don't have to be 100%. People can put money down on a VA loan. Why would somebody pay money down when they can borrow it at a 6.5% rate? It just doesn't make sense when they can use that money in other avenues to generate more income for themselves. Number 4 is that FHA or conventional loans are better for veterans than the VA loan. And that's not necessarily the case. I mean, the VA really wants veterans to be homeowners. And so that's why they created this mortgage program, for a veteran to have a place to live that is their own and to help them build roots in their community. So even though FHA loans are available and conventional loans are available, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily the right loan for that veteran. I know 2 or 3 loan officers that kind of specialize in VA financing, and they have such a relationship with the underwriters that, I mean, they go to bat for these veterans. If something pops up out of the ordinary, they're going to bat to try and get this loan approved so that that veteran can move into a home. And you're typically not going to get that kind of a leniency with an FHA or a conventional loan. The 5th thing is that VA loan appraisals are slow to process and usually come back with a low value. VA appraisals typically take 7 to 10 business days. Okay. Now, in 2020 and 2021 and the first part of this year, any appraisal was taking forever to get back. because we have a limited number of appraisers in the area. And so when the market exploded and people are just closing deals all the time, and most of them had to have an appraisal, so you had that limited pool of appraisers, they just got backed up. So it didn't matter if it was a VA, FHA, conventional. If it needed an appraisal, it was going to take a little bit of time. But when the market is normal, VA appraisals will normally take 7 to 10 business days. Myth number 6 is that sellers have to pay all the closing costs for a VA loan. And that's not true. Many VAs will come to the table saying they'll pay their own closing costs. They're not asking you for seller paid assistance. In the past, there have been some costs associated with a mortgage that the government said the veteran is not allowed to pay that. So you're going to have to pay it as a seller. And we would, negotiate that into the contract just like you would anything. But recently, the VA did change a very important thing that said veterans can now pay for their own pest control letter. So, when you do your home inspection, typically you're going to get a pest inspection done as well. They charge you $50 to $75 for the letter that states that there's no wood destroying insects in the house. Always before, VA has said the seller had to pay that cost. And now the VA is allowing the veteran to pay that expense. So really, there's not going to be a whole lot that the seller would have to pay for a VA loan. Most of the expenses the veteran himself can pay. Myth number 7 is that VA loans can only be used one time. And that's not true either. A veteran can actually have 2 VA loans at the same time. The amount that they're able to fund may be a little different when they're utilizing the VA more than once, but a veteran can use their VA loan multiple times throughout their life. They can buy a house, sell it, finance another house, sell it. The list goes on and on. So a veteran is not limited to using their VA benefit only one time. So if you've learned a little something about VA loans, or you want to know more and get an in-depth study on VA loans and how these myths are not true, if you'll comment VA myths below, then I will send you the booklet that explains this in depth. It's about 50 pages, and it will give you a lot of staggering statistics on VA loans and how they're a great option for a veteran in our country. I'm Amy Schrader with RE/MAX Real Estate 10. Let me know what you think.